Master, PhD or MBA, which degree for a successful career in the pharmaceutical industry? So we are trying to address the question from different angles and not only from a pure diploma angle. So bear with me, we'll go through a presentation which I hope will be useful to to develop your thoughts about what is maybe the best way for you to achieve your professional aspirations. So if the question is the question that we just mentioned, so let's look for a second at the profile of those who had an exceptionally successful career in the pharmaceutical industry, the CEOs of big pharmas. Starting by the CEO of Novartis, Joe Jimenez. He has a BA and MBA, I think from Berkeley, that he did immediately after his business degree. And then he started his career in the consumer goods industry. He became President North America for Heinz, and everybody knows Heinz, right, the ketchup. Then he became the President of Europe for Heinz, before taking over the presidency of the Consumer Health Division of Novartis, being promoted to President of the Pharmaceutical Division of Novartis, and since 2010, he's the CEO of Novartis. Taking now another example, Pfizer CEO, also very, very big pharma. Jan Reed has a chemical engineering degree and he's a chartered accountant. And he started his career as an auditor and then moved into finance position, became the CFO of Pfizer Mexico, if I'm not mistaken, and then gradually became the president of Pfizer Latin America and Canada, then Pfizer Europe and Canada before taking over the CEO position, also in 2010. So two very diverse type of educational background and career paths for the CEOs of these two major companies in the pharma industry. Third example, Roche CEO, who has a degree in economics and in law. He's a doctor in law, so he has what we could call a PhD in law. He started his career also in finance as a finance trainee, evolved in finance management position until taking over Roche Diagnostics business as a president or CEO of Roche Diagnostic before being appointed the CEO of Roche, and this in 2008. We can go on and on like this. So we talked about Novartis, Pfizer, and Roche CEO. As you see, they have a very varied educational background. And if we continue, let's take, for example, Novo Nordisk CEO. He has a BS in economics. You have the CEO of Eli Lilly, who has a PhD in organic chemistry, another PhD in chemical engineering for the CEO of Bayer. Then, strangely enough, for these American companies, Merck, Allergan, and Actavis, you have bachelor degrees in law or doctors in law. Some have combined their doctorate in law or their master in law with an MBA, some not, like the CEO of Merck, who is just a doctor in law. Then you have some other bachelor in economics, like the CEO of GlaxoSmithKline, and mechanical engineers. For AstraZeneca, you have a doctor in veterinary medicine who combined his education with an MBA, an MD, the only MD, medical director in Sanofi, BA in engineering for Bristol-Myers Squibb. We are not a big pharma at Debiopharm. I just wanted to stress the fact that our CEO of Debiopharm International has a PhD in pharmaceutical science. So, to the question, what is the best degree for an exceptionally successful career in the pharmaceutical industry? The answer is there's no degree that will guarantee you a particularly stellar career in the pharmaceutical industry. So, at this point, we could say CQFD, ce qu'il fallait démontrer in French, or in English we use the Latin words QED that you might know, so quod erat demonstrantum, and we could close our presentation at this point. But no, the drink is not ready yet, and we will move on to look at the situation from different angles. So if it's not the degree nor the career path, what do these CEOs or the best-in-class CEOs have in common? This is the question we are asking ourselves. And to answer that question, I propose to look at a study from Korn Ferry. Korn Ferry is one of the premium headhunters worldwide. And what they did, they looked at the profile and the assessments that they gathered of the top-tier CEOs or the most highly paid CEOs that they have assessed. And here is the results of their analysis. So best-in-class CEOs have some common competencies and have some higher levels of emotional intelligence in some particular areas. So to illustrate this point, they have a very strong ambiguity, tolerance ambiguity, or tolerance for ambiguity, sorry. And what does it mean to be to have a tolerance of ambiguity? It means that they don't need to have all the answers to decide. They know, of course, how to surround themselves with people who will have different perspectives that will complement their own perspectives in order to be able to decide, but they can live with changing environments. They can live with fast-paced, ambiguous, complex dynamics. And they can live with uncertainty and change. They are, de facto, change agents themselves. Confidence. CEOs, best-in-class CEOs are exceptionally confident. So again, they don't need to have gathered all the data to act. It doesn't mean that they don't know how to get access to updated data at all times and how to surround themselves with people who will help them make decisions, but they have the confidence to act quickly with agility, and in our current times where things change so fast, it's essential to have this particular skill or competency. Energy. We are not talking only about, oh, sorry. I didn't see that I had moved on. We don't talk only about physical energy. We are also talking about intellectual energy, the ability to sustain complex analytical thinking for a long period of time and during difficult days that are made of various challenges. In addition to that, they are able to keep their organization motivated, focused, and energized also in very difficult circumstances. What else? Composure. They have an emotional balance. They are very balanced even in the face of very critical situations to address, very critical issues to address. They have empathy. They are able to put themselves in the shoes of others. They are able to relate with others. They are able to read the room. They are able to identify strengths and development needs in people. They are able to identify high potentials and utilize this potential to the best. They are able to put together effective organizations around them. Finally, humility. These people can recognize their mistakes, learn from them, and look forward. Move on quickly, not get stuck on something that went wrong. Furthermore, if we look at the public-facing leadership style of these CEOs, what is interesting to see is that their leadership style, communication style, is not task-oriented and directive. It's rather inclusive, social, participative, but also fact-based and logical. So in conclusion, the best-in-class CEO possess a good balance of, on one hand, technical skills, but people-related skills as well. Of course, they are technically competent, they are experts and highly intelligent, but also they can envision future trends, required innovation, they can anticipate customer expectations or financial or technology requirements, and also they have a participative, open, social, emotionally intelligent leadership style. Now let's move on from CEOs. They're a bit far from us today and far from this audience, and look a little bit at the industries, the trends in the pharmaceutical industry, because this is an industry that apparently you might be interested in. So what are the current trends in the pharmaceutical industries? Well, pharmaceutical industry is experiencing a relatively contained growth. The 750 billion prescription drug market is only growing very moderately. We are talking about between 3 and 5% growth of the market nowadays. So it's a single-digit growth, lower single-digit growth. That's one thing. Second thing, the generic markets is becoming more and more important. So it represents already 10% of the overall prescription drug market in value today, and it's growing at a pace of 10%. So it's growing double the pace of the branded prescription drug market. The biggest generic market on the planet is the US. Furthermore, we experience decreasing margins in the pharmaceutical industry. The companies struggle to maintain their profitability. If you look at the consolidated combined net income of the top 20 pharmaceutical companies in the world, what you see is that between 2012 and 2013, this consolidated or combined net income has decreased by 1%. So the margins have shrunk. Furthermore, the R&D productivity is challenged nowadays, meaning that R&D spends continue to grow year after year, while the number of new drugs that are put on the market every year is stagnating. So, and we will illustrate this point in particular with the next slide. So here you see the R&D spends, consolidated worldwide R&D spends. As you see, between 2006 and 2013, the spends have increased by a compounded annual growth rate of 3.4%. They are still expected to increase until 2012, whereas the number of new molecule entities that have been put on the market between 2004 and 2013 has stagnating. You have 38, 28, 29, 26, 31, and so on. So it has really not performed, not grown as much as the spends. And this is the productivity challenge of the pharmaceutical industry. In addition to the total spend around putting on the market a new molecular entity, not only the development costs, but the marketing costs, the sales costs, etc., is extremely high and has been increasing, you know, from $2.3 billion to $3.9 billion. So it's extremely expensive to develop a new molecular entities. It's expensive, it's complex, it takes 15 years, and what you need to keep in mind is that from drug discovery to commercialization, there is 1 out of 1,000 drug candidates that ends up on the market. So the attrition rate is very high. In addition to this, and this is my final slide on the trends and challenges of the pharmaceutical industry, worldwide sales are at risk from patent expiration. Here, what do you see? You see the total sales, the total worldwide sales of prescription drugs that have been at risk due to patent expiration. You see how it has increased here. And the second colored column here shows the expected sales loss. Here, between 2011 and 2012, 6 out of the 10 biggest selling drugs in the world have their patent that expired. So it created a huge, what it's called the patent cliff, so the loss of sales due to patent expiration. One of those drugs was Plavix, a 7.1 billion sales per year that went off patent. So it created an important decline in sales. You see the proportion it represents. This is the proportion that this at-risk market represents versus the total market. So it's substantial. Okay, this being said, if we look at the future, so between 2014 and 2020, we expect $260 billion of sales being at risk due to patent expiration, but only 43% of those actually materializing. Why? Because of the emergence of biologics. And biologics are much more difficult to replicate than small molecular entities, and therefore the loss of profitability due to the patent expiration of biologics is much less intense, if you wish. So, is the future of the pharmaceutical industry still bright? Is it still an interesting place to, for example, to work? What do you say? What's your view? Yes?
Well, I think that in Switzerland it can be quite complicated because that the franc is the same value with euros, and that we can have problems with European people working for less money and so on. So we have lots of conflicts.
Okay, that's a perspective. It's a rather local perspective. Well, the industry is a very global one, and the big markets are outside Switzerland. So the Swiss franc impact is not so big, but as you say, we have a lot of manufacturing in Switzerland. So this is a substantial cost. Anything else? Any other opinion?
Well, I hear that Cancer Research UK, for instance, collaborates a lot with industry now. So I'm wondering if anything can be, all the R&D can be led by academia, and then eventually there would be a tech transfer in industry. But my notions of this are very vague because I come from academia.
Okay. So you're saying that potentially stronger collaboration with academia could help in the future? Yes?
Yeah, in the future, so we can expect much more aged people, for example, so I think we can expect more market
Yes.
in the future.
Yes. This is one of, oops, my points. Was the slide already up there when I asked the question? Oh! Sorry. Okay, anyway, there are significant unmet medical needs on the planet today. Oncology, diabetes, neurological disorders, cardiovascular diseases, obesity, etc. So there are still many, many patients out there in need of a cure which is not available to them, first of all. Second, aging population, as you were mentioning. So there are people who live longer and need cures for longer as well. Third, the emerging markets are growing tremendously, so there is a lot of opportunity there. India, for example, is one of the places, China. But this is not only these are not the only trends. We talked about biological therapeutics. They increase in share and value, and they are less submitted to the cannibalization of generics due to the fact that they are much more difficult to replicate. So what was metaphorically a patent cliff as becoming a kind of rolling hill. So, then biomarkers accelerate clinical trial process, so there are ways to shorten potentially new pharmaceutical development. Personalized medicine, so drugs tailored to specific needs of patients, add more value. Thanks to the study of genetics, making of an individual, you might identify tailored drug that will definitely work on this individual with this specific genetic making. So this is personalized medicine, is a patient-centric approach that creates much more value. Finally, the pharmaceutical industry is still one of the most profitable industries. And okay, it's growing slowly, but it's still growing. So yes, there is still a bright future in the pharmaceutical industry. So you can stay at this conference at this stage because it's a potential interesting place to work. Okay, so what is it like to work in the pharmaceutical industry? That's the next point we're looking at. So thank you, Stéphane, for presenting the value chain of the pharmaceutical industry, or the process from drug discovery to commercializing a new treatment and afterwards. So it's a quite complicated slide. Now we are going to zoom into an area of the pharmaceutical industry, clinical trials. What are clinical trials? Those are experiments on human beings, human participants, designed to determine the efficacy and the safety of a drug. Okay, and you cannot start a clinical trial without having the formal approval from the relevant authorities, because of course this is very, delicate to try a potential drug candidate on human beings. So, okay, clinical trials, and we will focus on phase 2 clinical trials. What I want to show is how complex and are the interactions in pharmaceutical development, what it implies to work in clinical trials in particular. So phase 2 clinical trials are clinical trials, as we defined, who are trying to establish the efficacy of a drug candidate, in general against a placebo. They are covering populations, grosso modo, between 100 and 300 patients, and they are also further determining the safety of the drug. And the gradual increase of the test group side of the population on which you apply the trial will enable you also to pinpoint some less common side effects of a drug that need, nonetheless, to be identified. So in a phase 2 clinical trial, we need to select a dose for the drug candidate we will instill to the patient. How to select this dose? So just to answer this simple question, let's see what it entails. First of all, so you will have a project leader who will need to gather all the elements and the answer to the question of which dose for this phase 2 clinical trial. The project leader coordinates and leads all this. You will need a pharmacologist who determines the active dose working in animal. You will need a toxicologist who will determine the toxic dose in animal and what is the safety margin that one should take. You will have a medical director who will estimate what should be the active dose in human. You will have the ADME expert. So just to give you the precise definition of ADME, absorption, distribution, metabolism, and elimination, who will study the pharmacodynamics, so the effects of this drug on living organisms, and pharmacokinetic parameters, so the way in which the drug is metabolized, absorbed, eliminated, and so on. And you will have a formulation expert who will determine, okay, should we give capsules? Should we give tablets? And I forgot the marketing expert, important, because he will think about the patient. What is the acceptable number of intake per day that we can give to a patient? 35 pills a day or 5 pills a day, 20 injections or 1 injection, etc. So this to show that matrix work and multidisciplinary collaborations are core to clinical development and pharmaceutical development. You cannot resolve a simple issue like this one alone. It's all about collaboration and tapping into all the expertise and making sure everybody works well together. Okay? So moving on. Now let's zoom into another area in this value chain. Discovery research. So what is discovery research? Is the disciplines aiming at identifying disease-related molecular targets and at discovering new chemical entities or drug candidates who will alter the molecular activity of these targets. In addition to that, drug discovery also lead optimization of drug candidates. What is this? It is to demonstrate the potential actual future value of a new chemical entities as a viable drug actually treating patients. So, working in drug discovery. What do you think? Master, PhD, which degree for a successful career in drug discovery or in discovery research? This is now what we are going to try to answer. If you have a Master of Science in biochemistry or a related field, you come out of your graduation, what you can potentially access as a job is a research associate role in drug discovery. The job here would be bench work, we call it, lab experiments, probably conducted under the supervision of a scientist with a PhD. With your career evolving, more experience acquired, you might reach a senior research associate position. Very soon, though, there is a risk, I'm not saying this is the absolute truth, but there is a risk that your career will stagnate as a senior research associate. So there is a certain cap if you come into this function with a master that you might have less opportunities to evolve. Career ladder in discovery research for a PhD, potentially with a postdoc. So PhD plus postdoc, you will access a higher position, scientist position. The scientist not only conducts the experiments, it designs the experiments, he writes, he reports on the experiments, potentially publishing the results, if appropriate, because there is always intellectual property involved. Then you will evolve scientist 1, scientist 2, scientist 3, depending on the companies, and there is no absolute kind of career path model. But here you will have the choice, either to continue your career as an expert and become, the ultimate expert, a very highly recognized expert in your specialty. So this is the fellow or principal scientist track, or you might evolve towards team management, becoming a group leader, department leader, functional director, potentially reaching VP of research, of chief scientific officer's position, VP R&D, and why not, CEO one day. Okay, so PhD in drug discovery might open up more opportunities for someone. What is it like to work in drug discovery? We saw what the drug discovery is about, the job purpose. We saw that there are two potential career tracks, the scientific or fellow track, or the management track. What are the successful KPIs, key performance indicators in drug discovery? But first of all, it's the quantity and quality of those molecules which will qualify for clinical development. Second, it's the delivery of, the decisions, making decisions to advance or terminate projects. This is key because developing a molecule takes a lot of money, and if you are not able to decide to stop a project when it's time, you will consume company money that could be used in a much wiser way. Finally, meeting goals on time, being collegial. We saw how much teamwork is important. Being innovative, skillful is very critical, and taking initiative to resolve also complex problems with a positive and resilient approach. What are the positive aspects of the job? The positive aspects are that you will collaborate with a very high-level scientists, so it will be very intellectually stimulating to work with those people who will be highly motivated. Plus, you will have a sense of purpose because, of course, you are working on trying to identify a drug that will treat potentially unmet medical needs, that will address unmet medical needs and treat patients who are in need of that treatment. You will be solving difficult problems, learning every day. So these are the positive aspects of the job. Now, there are also unpleasant aspects of the job. The science is not the only element that drives decisions in drug discovery. Business, market dynamics are as important. So you might be working on what you think is scientifically super interesting project, but at the same time, there is a competitor who is more advanced than you are in that specific development of the therapy, and you will need to abandon this project due to commercial and business reasons, not scientific reasons. You have a high failure rate. We said before, 1 out of 1,000 molecules ends up on the market. So the chance to work on a molecule which will be commercialized, I mean, are still kind of minute. There is instability. So if a drug development is interrupted, a department might be dismantled, or you might be asked to work on a completely different project, a completely different area. So you need to have the flexibility to do that. You might not be free to publish. We talked about intellectual property. So at times, you cannot publish because of the confidentiality around a project you are working on. And finally, managing people, if this is the career path you will choose, might be challenging. And so not everybody is made for that. Now, what are the essential skills, nonetheless, to work in discovery research? We have already covered some of them so far. You need to be visionary, yet realistic and pragmatic in your approach. So yes, technical expertise, scientific brilliance are a must, but always keep in mind the business needs, the big picture, and be pragmatical. It's very important. You need to have superior problem-solving analytical skills. As you saw, the job is complex. Critical thinking, intelligence, energy, and also the optimism to find solutions to problems that are not found like this needs to be there. Then energy, courage, persistence, tenacity, the resilience is key. As we said, drug development is a lengthy, complex process. There is a lot of attrition. You might not find solutions immediately, so you need to be tenacious. And you might be working on one project for a substantial amount of time. But at the same time, you need to be able to move on when it's a no-go. So tolerate the frustration of giving up a project and move on. Embracing lifelong learning. So here, what does that mean? You need to take into consideration every single piece of data that you have available in drug discovery and making connections. And you will learn every day, and you will need to learn every day. And drug discovery is characterized by, and drug development in general, by what we call serendipity. Le hasard, we say in French. So if you look at the history of certain drugs that have been commercialized, you have, for example, a drug that was a lipid-lowering drug, originally, or what was meant to be a lipid-lowering drug, which was found to have anti-cancer functions, raloxifene. Another very famous one is a product that was originally being developed for, to cure cardiovascular disease, which became Viagra. So you need to be able to make connections and be flexible and potentially reorient things at a certain moment in time. What else? We said already about being collegial, being a team worker. I think you understood that these skills are absolutely critical, flexible, and have intellectual honesty. When you're so much dedicated and passionate about a scientific project, you would love to have results that are proving what you're trying to prove. You might be a bit biased at times by that. You need to remain objective, keep the distance, and be intellectually honest to say, okay, no, there are no data proving what I'm trying to prove. Let's move on. And also excellent communication skills. So communicating about the progress of your project is as important as running the experiment. You will need to communicate with various functions internally, but also potentially externally to the investment community. So being able to explain, at times in very simple words for a scientific person, what you are doing is very critical. Now, if you are good at all this, all those skills, you might evolve in drug discovery, but also beyond drug discovery. So from discovery research, you could move on into still the pharmaceutical industry, but also outside. You could become a consultant, you could work in venture capital, in patent law, but also internally in project management, preclinical research, regulatory affairs, quality, and plenty of other areas. So this entry point will give various opportunity to move cross-functionally in a big pharma organization. Furthermore, you could stay in discovery, in clinical development for a while, and then potentially, as we said before, reach the high levels in the organization. Okay, so we have looked at the characteristics of clinical development. We have looked at potential career options in drug discovery, but the pharmaceutical industry offers so many jobs, so many roles, and we are not going to cover, I'm not going to be able today to describe the nature of each of these roles and what they entail. But you will see in the bibliographic reference in the end that you have good coverage of these questions in a book that I will show you later on. Okay, this being said, let's try to look. What are the entry-level positions in all these functions, or some of these functions, for masters, PhDs, medical doctors as well, let's not forget, and MBAs. So if you have a master, what are the type of entry-level positions that you could get in the pharmaceutical industry? We talked already about discovery research. You could enter as a research associate if you have a degree in biochemistry, and this is covered. Apart from that, you could enter marketing if you have a business degree of some kind as a marketing trainee. You could enter sales as a sales trainee. You could enter the manufacturing and operations as a production trainee. For example, if you are a biotech chemical engineer, you could do that. A biotech or chemical engineer, sorry. You could enter finance if you have an economics degree as a financial analyst. You could enter HR if you have relevant education as an HR trainee. I'm not saying this is a comprehensive, but it gives you ideas of the entry points with a master in the pharmaceutical industry. So what do you think a PhD would bring? How does a PhD add value? Anybody? I'm sure there are PhD students in the room who want to defend their choice. Anybody? I'm not going to click on the answers before giving you the opportunity this time. Yes?
Maybe apart from the technical skills, what you learn during PhD is the way you manage the project, the way you solve problems, complex problems, and therefore it's not only an added value for R&D, but for almost all of the job positions you mentioned. But maybe instead of entering as a trainee, you can enter right away with some kind of responsibilities.
Yeah.
And upper level.
Yeah. Anyone wants to add something? Okay, moving on then. Yes, indeed. Okay, of course it brings you deep technical expertise, a thorough scientific approach, which is a must, right, in drug development, as we saw. Complex problem-solving abilities, critical reasoning, and so on. But also in-depth and lateral thinking, so not only going deep, but also making those connections, but also the ability to communicate and present. I mean, if you are a PhD, I guess you have to present your work to a committee. You better present well. You need to be resilient because it takes time to complete a PhD, to go in-depth in a subject. Time management and organizational skills are key, and you need to organize yourself, I guess, autonomously, manage your time to make it to be as effective as possible to conduct your PhD, and the ability to plan, design, implement, and adapt research projects is something that you should develop through a PhD. This being said, if you decide to complete a PhD, think about how it will contribute to your career development and contribute to your career aspirations. Ask yourself the question before embarking in a PhD. It's essential. Now, so with a PhD, what are the potential entry positions in the pharmaceutical industry? We talked already about discovery research and the fact that you can access higher positions. You can become a scientist if you have a biology or medicinal chemistry background. You can enter preclinical research if you have experience in if you have a background, PhD in toxicology, chemistry, systems biology, pharmacology, etc., etc. You can get jobs in product development, as formulation scientist, as analytical chemist, as CMC project manager. Could access project management as a project coordinator to start with. Clinical development as a study coordinator, as a clinical research associate, or as a biostatistician. Medical affairs, even though there are more options in medical affairs for medical doctors, we'll see that in the next slide, but still you could become a medical science liaison or a drug safety specialist. You could get into corporate communications as a scientific publications writer, into commercial operations or manufacturing operations rather, as in process development, improvement or project management. Or you can enter bioinformatics, which is one of the fields, which is the expertise of our colleague Hiroki Tanaka, if I'm not mistaken, which is about studying the genome, the genes, but I'm not going to give you too much explanation on that. Please ask him afterwards. Okay, medical directors with some clinical practice could get into these roles: clinical pharmacology, translational scientist, translational medicine scientist, medical writer, clinical research physician, could become a pharmacovigilance expert. You could go into a regulatory expert, a medical science liaison, a medical affairs physician. You could go into medical marketing, scientific communication. So these are the options open for a medical director with some clinical practice. Now, if you have an MBA, without experience, So an MBA that you do immediately after your business degree or your whatever university degree, these are some options that could be open for you. You could go in finance as a business planning and analysis analyst. You could become a project coordinator. You could be an associate product manager or a market research analyst, a business intelligence analyst. This being said, as you see, the options for somebody who has no experience and just an MBA are relatively limited. What I would say is that professional experience is a really key in order to fully benefit from MBA studies. And why is that? The teaching method, first of all, is based on case studies, business case studies, and multifunctional team projects. So in case studies, participants share real-life experience and contribute through this experience to the resolution of the business case. Study groups are adding tremendous value through this process, and the learning happens also by hearing about the experience of others and putting together all the perspectives in the resolution or in the analysis of a business case. Multifunctional team projects, so participants here complement each other because you will have people from different functions, different experience in those projects, and this is key to run this project properly. And here again, you would learn from each other as well as learning from the faculty. Having former business experience so provides, what does it provide? It provides a better understanding of the topics that will be taught in the MBA. Confidence in working with diverse teams, multicultural and multifunctional teams, and it will give you an opportunity to practice your leadership skills. Furthermore, it will also help you maturing on certain aspects, the reasons for doing an MBA. If you have previous experience, you will have thought more in depth, hopefully, about why to do an MBA, what is the added value that you expect out of it, and also you will have a career plan. You probably will have a career plan if you embark on an MBA. Oh, then also most of the MBA jobs are made for people who have an MBA and previous experience. Furthermore, the most prestigious MBA programs anyway require previous experience. So to access certain MBA programs, not saying every MBA program, because in the US you have a few which do not require previous experience, but the most prestigious one require previous experience. So how does the MBA add value? You will really have acquire a broad and integrated understanding of the business. The various functions of the business, you will be able to understand the financial report, you will be able to understand the competitive dynamics that business face, the value chain, the competition landscape we said already, and so on. You'll also have aptitude for cross-cultural and cross-functional leadership or collaboration, at least. You will be able to deliver under pressure because it's all about, multitasking and working on various business cases and projects simultaneously and acquiring a lot of knowledge at the same time. You will understand stakeholder management. You will understand multiple industries and multiple business models, and you will build a network. This being said, before embarking in an MBA, it's a huge personal investment. So think twice about how it will contribute again to your career aspirations and personal fulfillment. Now, if you have an MBA and you have some relevant experience, here are some positions that we'll be able to access in the pharmaceutical industry. This is again not comprehensive, but in finance you'll have probably access to more responsibility as a business controller, in project management, project manager, portfolio manager, in medical affairs manager, product brand pricing manager in marketing, sales manager, alliance manager in business development, out in licensing manager, market access manager, business intelligence manager, production manager, and so on. Some pharmaceutical industry offer leadership development program for people who have experience in MBA, and you have accelerated rotational program that can take you through an accelerated career path. Moving on, we've looked at what kind of diploma could give you access to what kind of roles. Now, what are the critical skills that will make you successful in the pharmaceutical industry? Do you have an idea? Okay, we don't have an idea. We talked about some already. Interpersonal skills are key. You will need always to be able to collaborate positively with others, build rapport, put yourself in the shoes of others, caring about your colleagues, your co-workers, engender trust, listen, understand others' emotions, communicating clearly, as we said, and be open in what you do. Being a team player is also very important. We said already about the importance of collaboration and the fact that the whole will always be greater than the sum of the parts. The success will always be a collective success, never an individual success, because no individual alone will be able to resolve the complex issues that you will be faced with in the pharmaceutical industry. So you need to let go of the looking for accolades and individual recognition, but seek collective recognition. And this is I think very, very important. Multitasking is also key. You need to work effectively on multiple projects in a fast-paced environment. Strategic thinking, planning ahead, understanding complex scenarios and anticipate consequences. See the forest through the trees. Think about the business implication of what you do, the commercial implications of what you do, the big picture, what is the ultimate goal of the company you are working for, are essential things to keep in mind. This being said, so big picture, yes, but you also you will be required to pay attention to the smallest of details. Creative problem solving, you will need to focus on finding solutions, not getting stuck on the problem, and addressing problem solving with resilience and a positive attitude. I think analytical skills, I don't need to explain too much about it. So how to prepare your transition to the pharma industry, potentially. If you are in academy or so on, how do you prepare for that? This is a bit of advice. Today, in your current research, for example, you would be better off to work on, for example, a human disease rather than fundamental and basic research. You should seek for hot therapeutic areas of interest to the industry. You should look at working on unmet medical needs. Expand your expertise in translational medicine, for example, which is a very hot function nowadays. Use in your postdoc activities, for example, the same techniques, drug screens, applied science that is used in the pharmaceutical industry. patent your work, potentially, if you have work to be patented. Gain business understanding, of course. Don't forget the business dynamics. Gain understanding of clinical development as well. And at any time, look for internships, opportunities to get experience in the pharmaceutical industry. Now, okay, this is a general advice. Now, what you need to think about is what is the right job for you as an individual. So what is it? You need to be able to think about this and try to find an answer to this question. So what is your ideal job? Your ideal job will be based on the skills you have as a person. What are you particularly good at? What do your colleagues say you're very good at? That's one of the points you need to take into consideration. Then, what do you love? What are you passionate about? What are your interests? Okay, if you find a job that leverages your skills on one hand and leverages your passion or offers you the opportunity to express your passion, you might be happy, but unfortunately poor. So you might not be completely satisfied with this option. Next dimension to look at is what does the market need? What pays well? Now, of course, if you find a job that leverages what you're good at, your skills, and covers the market needs, you might be rich, but bored. So that's not ideal either. You might also find a job that, enables you to express your passion, covers the market, but yeah, wow, a dream. Some find the dream. Might be, Anyway, what you need to find is the crossing point, Try to combine all this together and find what is your winning formula. The winning formula that works for you as a person. So a bit of introspection is useful to answer this question. Another point which is important is to build your own brand. The brand called you as an individual. How do you do that? What makes you different? Think about what makes you different. What is it that, because everyone has a chance to learn, to improve, to build his own portfolio of skills, and to be a brand worth recognition, worthy of remark. And the brand, what is it? The brand is a promise of the value the customer will receive. Is the promise of the benefits you will offer. So you need to be the head marketeer of the brand called you. The brand called you is Me Inc. Okay, Me Incorporated. So think about what makes you different. So what have you done lately, this week, to make yourself stand out? What would your classmates say it's your greatest and clearest strength? What is your most noteworthy personal trait? All these will answer the question, what makes you different? Then, what is the feature-benefit model that you offer? Meaning, do you deliver work on time, every time? Do your teammates, faculty, for example, save headaches when you're part of their team? Do you anticipate and solve problems before they become crises? Whatever. What is the feature-benefit model that your brand, the brand you, has to offer? Then, what do you do that adds remarkable, measurable, distinguished, distinctive value? Ask yourself this question. What do you do that you are most proud of? What do you want to be famous for? Yes, famous for. What is the fingerprint you want to leave? What do you want to be remembered for? What would you like others to say about you? What is the pitch for your brand promise? And what is a brand promise? What is it? It's a 5-8 word statement, action-oriented, exciting, inspirational, indicating how your brand provides value to others. And this should be based on your more distinctive characteristic. So a successful brand promise should convey a compelling benefit, must be authentic, credible, and you must keep on your promise every time, every single time. So take an example, not an individual brand promise, but take a company brand promise. Federal Express, FedEx. What is their brand promise? It is your package will get there overnight, guaranteed. Now, what could be the individual promise, the brand promise of an individual? For example, it could be smart ideas put in action. Okay, that's just an example. Okay? So the best thing to do is test your brand promise with your close friends and family. You know, if you give them your brand promise and their eyes kind of lighten up, you might be on the right path. Besides building a pitch for your brand promise, you need to also build your reputation as an expert and enhance your visibility. So how to do that? For example, take freelance projects. The beauty of taking projects is that a project will give you the opportunity to deliver tangible, measurable results that will contribute to building your brand. Then write articles, teach classes, join conferences and clubs. All those ways are good ways to build your reputation as an expert. Participate in panel discussion, leverage and expand your network. Your network is much more powerful than you think. The statistics says that if you have, how many, 200 direct connections on LinkedIn, you have 2 million people at the 3rd degree of connection. Of course, you need to use those social networks also wisely. But strengthening your relationship is very important. And if you don't work on your relationships, they are not going to reinforce, they are not going to strengthen, they are going to weaken. Okay, so building network, leveraging also modern technologies to build network is important. And I wanted to ask you, do you know what the Google Blues is? That's the Google Blues. So you have this guy who is at the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist, he seems very demotivated, etc. And the psychiatrist asks him, and what makes you feel this sudden loss of identity? And he answers, well, I did a Google search for my name, but I was not listed anywhere. So how do I know who I am? Okay, this is just for the joke. Of course, use technology smartly to leverage your network, but remember that modern technology reflects your positioning as well. Then what else? Write your mission statement. What the mission statement is about, what turns you on. Is it learning something new? Is it gaining recognition? Is it, kind of developing new ideas? What is it? And then what is your personal definition of success? Money, power, fame, doing what you love. And search relentlessly for project opportunities that fit this mission statement. Again, you should have a steady diet of gradually more challenging, more interesting, more provocative projects. And you will build your skill set as you go, build a track record of tangible results project after project. And this is what you're looking for as an employer, the tangible, actual results. And finally, you should review your mission statement every 6 months, because if you look back, you have worked on something, you look back, you looked at what you have worked on, you look at your mission statement, and there is a discrepancy between the two, you have an issue. So either the mission statement is no longer valid, and this should be renewed often, or you worked on the wrong project and you've lost time, which you don't want to do. Prioritize learning, and remember, you learn by doing more than you learn by concepts and theories. So careful, for many people, 20 years of experience might be 1 year of experience repeated 20 times, which means that you have not learned anything new after the first year. No, think about yourself, about work in progress. Seek for learning opportunities. Invest in yourself every single day. Look back regularly and ask yourself, what did I learn that is aligned with my mission statement, is aligned with my vision of the future. And things two steps ahead. So always think, how is this next career opportunity going to contribute to my ultimate goal? You know, how is it going in the direction of my mission statement and of my goal? And remember that a career is not linear. This is the wrong perception. A career is not like this. A career is composed of a portfolio of opportunities or projects or experiences that will teach you new skills. And at times, you will have opportunities to break out into new opportunities very fast. So for example, here, this is a breakout opportunity where you move on. Here you stagnate a bit, and here again a breakout opportunity. So think about that when you take a job. Think about, you know, what breakout opportunities this opportunity gives me, and how does it contribute to my goal? And the most important thing is to learn in the process, constantly learning. You will be more fulfilled if you learn through what you do, than if you seek, you know, to make money and that's it. And you will make more money in the end as well, probably. Finally, so the brand call you, or me incorporate, needs to be measured against 4 key performance indicators. Be a great teammate, we said, and supportive colleague. It's very important. Be an exceptional expert at something that has a value for somebody else. Be a visionary, a leader, a teacher, an imaginer. And be a business person, so always think about the practical outcomes, the market, the business out there. So in the end, in that way, you can start today by building the startup of you. And I hope that by building the startup of you, whatever your degree, you know, you will be happy, successful, and eventually make also some money out of it. Okay. So the conceptual and theoretical part of the presentation is now over. I'm gonna, and here is the references. You will have these references in the slides that I will give you anyway. So I'm not going to spend too much time. What is important now is to hear about real-life testimonials of people, you know, who have had a substantial career, who have PhDs, who have MBAs, and who will talk about their real-life experience and not theory anymore. So, and the first one who I will invite here to speak is Mr. Tanaka.
So I should maybe speak a bit about my first school. I'm French, so I'm sorry, I cannot really tell much about Switzerland. I started this school, l'École Polytechnique, which you might know the name. It's very famous in France. So it's a good school, though it's very bad for one thing. It's about telling you what to do. because it's really a generalist school, and basically you can join any industry coming from there. So I still remember I was, I think, 22, 23. I had really no clue what kind of job I wanted to do. I went there just because I was a good student, especially good in mathematics. So in France, if you are good in math, you get there. And you're celebrated, the elite of the nation, and so on. At the end, it doesn't tell you what to do. So I had to think about, hey, what do I want to do? I'm good in math. Am I going to be mathematics teachers? It wasn't really sexy for me. It's a very good job, I guess, but it wasn't for me. So I wanted to think, what do I want to do? And I was a scientist, for sure. So I wanted to work in science. And I tried to imagine the cool times in the past. For instance, physics. I knew a little bit of physics, thanks to this school. It would have been really good to work in physics in the time of Marie Curie, Einstein, Heisenberg, Planck, and these super guys who worked together in the beginning of the 20th century. I think it was a really great time for physicians to work in physics. Unfortunately, I'm living 1 century later. So if you think that way, in Polytechnic, the kind of mathematics I learned, the last lessons, I think it was about mathematics or 1940s. I wouldn't say nothing happened then, but math, at least when I was in this school, wasn't so exciting. So I tried to figure out what are the areas which seem to be most exciting. And my answer was 2 areas, computational science, because when I was there, it was the beginning of internet. Fantastic internet. But I came from math, so I thought, if you come from math, probably it's easy to go to computer science. Okay, maybe a bit naive, but I thought that way. The second one was biology, because molecular biology was invented, I would say, in the 85, 86, and I was in that school in 90. And seemed really cool, really something new, and people were speaking of human genome being read soon and so on. So I definitely wanted to participate to this, and unfortunately, one of the areas this school is really bad at is biology. So I took the decision, I want to go to biology, I want to see the human genome. I want to be one of the first guys to see the human genome. So I said, I need a PhD in biology. So this is the reason why I did a PhD, okay, in biology, a real PhD, not the bioinformatics, not biophysics, but really oncology and pharmacology. After my PhD, I didn't really apply because the company came to me and said, hey, you know biology and mathematics, so you come to my company to work on human genome. I was really happy to do bioinformatics because it requires the understanding of both mathematics or computer science and biology. So I didn't really choose to go to bioinformatics, but somebody came to me, hey, come to. So I started my career in bioinformatics, and I was lucky enough, I guess, because, yes, I was, I think, one of the maybe 100 first guys to see the human genome. And I still remember when I saw it, you really understood nothing. You have this huge text, and wow. But, okay, plenty of people worked on this area, and slowly you discover stuff. You understand the human genome, and at the end, you have some ideas. Hey, this you could do to do something. Okay, for instance, you could develop a new drug, so you could do new diagnostics, so you could do many new things that were not existing. So I think at that time, oh, sorry, I did something wrong, I guess. Yeah. I was full of ideas, saying, hey, you could do something new like that, a new diagnostics, for instance. And then people presented some business guys to me, and I had to explain my ideas. And guess what? We couldn't communicate. What I was telling was too technical, and people were speaking of, I don't know, RNPV, profitability, and what kind of VCs we should address. And I was completely out of my language. So I said to myself, if you want to concretize or to transfer, to convert your ideas to reality, you need to learn how to talk to these guys who trigger business. So this is the second reason why I did an MBA. It's a lot of work, but I would say it's easier for a PhD to do an MBA than the opposite. So if there is some PhD student, I think it wouldn't be too difficult. And thanks to that, I also had some new opportunities in the pharmaceutical industry. But yes, I think that today I'm able to push some new ideas, maybe propose some new venture ideas and so on. And actually, I'm doing so within Debiopharm. Because don't believe that you cannot innovate a pharmaceutical company. It's not true at all. If you have good ideas, people will listen to you. So currently, I'm struggling to push some new ideas. I don't know if I will win, but I'll try to push harder. And yes, MBA helps also to learn the basics to become, for instance, entrepreneur. So if you have good ideas, maybe you wouldn't like that your idea is jeopardized because somebody else became CEO and messed up your project. So if you have a good idea, maybe I could become CEO myself. So this is the reason why I did the MBA. I think that's it. The reason why I had an MBA and a PhD. So this is really a real life experience. Christian, it's your...
Donc, I have to switch to English. So I'm a chemist. I knew since the year of 15 years old that I wanted to be a chemist because I wanted to create new things that didn't exist on Earth. And so I didn't have to choose between a lot of propositions. So I had a PhD of chemistry from University of Fribourg, Switzerland. And then I moved to Berkeley, California to continue to do some research. And I really enjoy my PhD time. It was the great time where you can really leave your passion because you want to pursue your idea, and it's the only opportunity with 22, 23 years old that you are your own boss, leading your own research project to demonstrate to the scientific community that you are able to resolve some problem, propose some innovative solutions that you can publish, so also it's innovative because nobody else had thought it before, and those information are useful for the scientific community, and you can communicate and exchange with scientific community. So if you, I'm sure a lot of you guys are currently doing a PhD, and you know why you are starting a PhD, and I'm sure that some value like patient, you need to be passionate to do your work. Value like creativity, you cannot do a PhD without having some creativity because you cannot find solution to problem without creativity. You need to be innovative because without innovation, you can find a solution that exists already, but you're not here to redo something that somebody did it before. And last but not least, because you're your own boss. And I know how difficult is it when you do a PhD. It's not doing the PhD between 8 in the morning and 5 in the evening. You have to do it during the night, during the weekend. So you have to be committed. So if all those values speak for you, you can work in a pharmaceutical company. So they are exactly the value of the pharmaceutical company. Passion, creativity, innovation, commitment. So after my PhD, I joined a pharmaceutical company, and my activity was I had different responsibility, mostly drug discovery, lifecycle management, collaboration between university and industry. And as Manuela mentioned, I came up to a kind of ceiling, some frustration, like here. Because all my ideas, all the nice, great projects that I believe I was committed, I had the passion, I thought, yeah, we had a great innovation, I was discussing with those guys in university, and we all believe it could save some patient, we could find some new drug. But we could not convince the investor to put the money here. And why? Because there is another aspect. Investors, they want, it's a risky business, as Manuela said. From the discovery to the patient, only 1 over 1,000 new molecule can and will be a drug. So you need to discuss with investors, and investors, they want to put their money. If you can give them some information about the risks that they are taking and the revenue that they can get from this. So after 10 years of pharmaceutical industry, I decided to do an MBA. And I choose MBA here at EPFL, at that time what's called Management of Technology, and with a specialty of entrepreneurship. So in this MBA, you really had to go and work with startups. I had to write a business plan. And after this MBA, I joined several startups. And I really had also a lot of nice activity there, because it's exactly like in the research. You have to, again, develop your idea, transform this idea into a product, convince investor, VC, capital venture, to do that. And so I did it for a while. And then I end up to go back to industry. In fact, Mr. Mauvernais, the owner of Debiopharm, I was working for Debiopharm at the beginning, and then he called me back to propose me some job. And now I'm heading the portfolio and project management office. I'm not doing any more some chemistry in the lab, so I just have my kitchen at home to invent some new dessert ideas. So fortunately, as chemists, you still can do something. I don't know for biologists what you are doing when you are not in the lab anymore, but for chemistry it's easy. So I have the responsibility of all the portfolio of drug development and drug discovery, and several project leaders are working for me, and they have the responsibility of leading projects, research project, development project. And again, without passion, without creativity, without innovation, and without commitment, we cannot do our job. So it's a little bit of expertise, a little bit of to know what you need to learn and when, and a lot of what do you want to do, and how you want to live your life in your private life, and also for your job. So I'm sure that you have a lot of ideas, and I hope that you will also live your passion like we are doing right now.